All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Underground. This is Interactive Chat Volume 72, our weekly Solo Man podcast where we talk about everything PSVR 2 related, news, reviews, discussions, announcements, trailers, all the things, including PC support, haptic vests, all the things. First and foremost, happy 4th of July to everybody out there. I hope you're having a wonderful, fun, and safe time. Getting some good food, some drinks, spending time blowing shit up with your family. All the best things. You smell that? You smell that? Smells like freedom, baby. Yeah. What is up, guys? Welcome. This is, of course, Interactive Chat, where I like to interact with you guys and say, what is up to Blue Jew, Underground Cat, Elite Name Squad in the house, Emily Baxter, hashtag the Cartoony Witch Game Kitten. What up? Happy 4th. Happy 4th to you. Alyx says fireworks. Yes, now we're talking. Jason Ewing, howdy. Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for Life. All of you guys, super quick in the house tonight. What is up? Good to see you. We got a lot to talk about today. We, of course, we got some teasers for some new upcoming PSVR 2, a new upcoming PSVR 2 game. We're also going to talk about a recent article that was from Game Informer talking about Resident Evil and kind of the discussion around their history with VR as well as their future. Ooh, does sound like it indeed. And then, of course, also, with it being, we are just 1 month away from the official PlayStation VR 2 adapter launching, there's actually a huge Steam sale right now, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to make some recommendations for some games for those that are planning on getting the PC adapter, what I would recommend you start with and get some really great deals, as well as a new PSN sale that's going on right now that also has some games that you must buy and pick up. Some really good deals. You get a chance of redemption this week because there's some stuff that was on sale and then you might have missed the boat and then now they're on sale again. So don't screw it up this time. Now's your chance. Redemption. And then, of course, to cap off the episode, we are going to talk a little bit about what I think or what you should really expect when it comes to the launch of the PSVR 2 PC adapter. What are the expectations behind that? What I think you should be expecting, because it might be a little bit different from what you think at launch, but the future is a big question mark, and we're going to get into that as well. So, first and foremost, I want to kick things off with some teasers for a game that's coming to PSVR 2. Ghosts of Tabor, Combat Waffle have been teasing a bunch of little clips, little doodads here and there on Twitter about. They've been basically just tweeting random pictures of these hyper zoomed pictures of pieces of PlayStation VR 2 headsets here and there. This has actually been a game that we've been kind of waiting for a while and waiting to see more on. And so today, with them posting all these teasers here and there, I don't expect that release is imminent, but I do think it's closer than we may think. It might be right around the corner. So we're going to do our first big deep dive and see what Ghosts of Tabor offers. I'm actually pretty excited about this game. I like a lot of different games, but I typically, when it comes to like regular first-person shooters and stuff, multiplayer shooters like Call of Duties and whatnots, like I'm not like the biggest person on those. Usually they have to be a little bit more unique and offer something a little bit different. So we're going to break down what is Ghost of Tabor. Well, it is described as a PvP, PvE, survival extraction shooter. What does that mean? That means you'll be playing against players, you'll be playing against and just environmental AI, stuff like that. And of course, you'll be pretty much going on missions and then trying to extract at the end to complete the mission, while gathering as much loot as possible. But the thing that I find pretty interesting about this game are some of the deeper mechanics that it offers. Now, let me just say, from what I've read, this game is really for like hardcore players. It takes some commitment, and takes, it seems like a challenging game, which is usually my cup of tea. This seems like something you can really dedicate a lot of time into. You can spend a lot of time in, and with the player base surrounding it right now, that seems to be the kind of player base it has. This community that it has is like these hardcore people, that really just like, this is a game that you can sink lots of time into, it seems, which is pretty cool. But don't just take my word for it. Let's hop over to the their page here on Steam, and let's take a look and see what they have to say about it. So what makes it different about this game? Survive and stay alive. It says survival systems like health and hunger and thirst and needing to eat and heal to stay alive. So already this is something a little bit different than your typical first-person shooter. Most first-person shooters, you don't have to like eat and sleep or eat and drink water and things like that. That's pretty cool. I love survival games in VR. It was honestly a genre that I wasn't crazy about originally, until I played the Solus Project, and then Song in the Smoke, and then Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and it kind of changed me. I was like, oh, wow, this is a genre that I never knew I would actually really love as much as I do. And I think that's a really cool mechanic, but there's more to just eating and drinking in this game. Let's also zoom it in a little bit here. Explore, loot, and shoot. Also things that I really like. A variation of maps that allow for multiplayer exploration, my favorite gameplay mechanic. Looting, another one of my favorite gameplay mechanics. Intense shootouts, awesome. And snipers. Upgrade your arsenal. Trading with vendors, AI, and peer-to-peer to attain better gear, make money, craft equipment. So you can actually build it actually has like a potential little ecosystem of its own, which I've seen before, and it's predominantly in like a lot of MMOs and stuff, and EverQuest I've seen. People will just sit there and trade shit all day for years. I've seen it. Experience amazing VR maps like Island of Tabor and Missile Silo at closed beta launch. Yeah, so this game is currently in early access at this time, but I anticipate come time around the 1.0 release that it will actually hit the PlayStation Store. It'd be really cool actually if they do a beta for PlayStation. I think that could really, really help a lot. That's not something, while not like something that happens a lot on the PlayStation ecosystem, I do think it is something we've seen it happen. Like Zenith did it, a couple other things did it. So there's definitely some red tape, some hoops that the developers have to jump through. But if you're listening, devs, I would highly advise releasing an early access beta on PlayStation. Let players jump in, help you with testing, feedback, and help shape the game, get it ready for launch, even if it's just a temporary thing. But let's see what other features here we'll run through real quick, and see what they have to say about this. Simultaneous PvP and PvE, avoid both players and armed AI, scavenge for a wide variety of loot such as gear, weapons, attachments, ammo, medical, food, and water. Squad up or go it alone in the world's most dangerous looting grounds. This game is I think it's 4-player co-op is what you can. I think you can squad up with 3 other players. Make your way to the extraction point to get out with your life and your gear. Now, extraction shooters are not something I've played a lot of, but they've become really, really popular. This game is, of course, heavily influenced by games like Escape from Tarkov, and I think it's called, is it World War Z or something like that? These are extremely popular, like games that have hardcore dedicated players that just, it's got an addicting game loop, and I can see this. I like this whole extraction kind of mechanic. Customized weapon craft items. So there's weapon crafting, craft ammo of different types and sizes, a variety of weapons ranging from handguns to assault rifles, huge armory to display your arsenal of weapons, armor, and gear, which I have heard is kind of a cool feature about this. One of the advantages that VR has is I was just watching like just the first basic video I saw, and they were saying that, in Escape from Tarkov, your whole armory and everything is just a menu that you click through, and in Ghost of Tabor, it's like a 3D environment that you actually can be in and kind of live in and soup up and things like that. So they were saying that that's one of the big advantages of, playing a game like this in VR, and I tend to agree. One of the many. Choose your loadout carefully. Visit the marketplace to source anything you may need for your next raid. Complete missions with vendors to unlock special goods. And then, of course, they just talk about different play styles, from guns a-blazing to stealthy approaches. So kind of play how you want stuff. This game is seeming pretty awesome. I love the foundation of it, what it's sounding like. I love that it's more than just, like I said, I still like, just regular PvP multiplayer shooters as well. But I like that this seems like something where it offers a deeper experience, which requires a little bit more dedication, which may be a little bit more challenging, but also pretty rewarding and something you can, really sink your teeth into, which is the kind of games I like. I like those kind of games that you can spend loads of time with. The one thing that seems to be recurring surrounding this game are some of the maybe technical things about it. I hear, basically unanimously that the game has a lot of bugs. It has some jank. That seems to be the big thing. It's a make or break for some people. Some people just enjoy the game loop so much that they don't care, that they still dedicate the time to it. Other people are like, no, it's too unpolished, it's too janky, there's too many bugs, and they just don't want to waste their time with that. And I kind of understand both sides here. So I guess it really is going to come down to, how much you enjoy the content of the game loop, playing with your friends and stuff like that, and kind of just go from there, and whether or not it affects you enough to want to go. So that's the big thing that I see, the big negative, I would say, about this game. That's the only thing. Nobody says really much anything bad about, the way it's designed or the experience of the, the game design, so much as just some of the technical issues that it runs into. But so looking forward to this, and gonna wait to see more. We shall see, but they are teasing this heavily right now, so it'd be really cool. It says closed beta with a PlayStation symbol right there. So perhaps there is a beta coming. I don't really know. That would be really cool, though. Headbite in the house tonight. What up, homie? Says they patch every few days from what I see from announcements on their Discord. I need this even if janky. Yeah, I've heard the last couple updates were pretty good. Let's see here. Alahembe, the cat allergic game cat, says, AJ, do you have a YouTube subscription or only Patreon? I just have my Patreon. Oh my God, how could I forget to plug my Patreon? Oh my God, I was so focused on getting the show running today. Yeah, man, if you want to support me, I appreciate you very, very much. I don't have YouTube subscriptions. Unfortunately, I just never got around to it. I don't really, I guess it'd be cool. I don't want to like lock content on the page. I don't even run ads on my live streams. These are all ad-free live streams for you guys, man, and because ads are the worst unless you have premium. But you can go here just like these lovely people did and go to patreon.com/PSVR Underground and support me on there for just $1 or more. It all helps, and I love all these peoples very, very much. Appreciate your support. You can also donate in the stream like Scott Justico, the PSVR Game Cap for Life. I'm sorry, Scott. Scott, the PSVR Game Cap for Life. That's a hard one, man. I said that for a long time. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate the love and support. Right back at you. Getting that tip train going, baby. Choo-choo. Says, happy got rid of the British People Day to all my USA virtual friends. Plus, AJ, what's your favorite VR game of all time? And what game are you most hyped for? Oh my goodness, my friend. Oh, I don't know if I can answer that right now. Like, I love so many VR games, man. Like, I love a lot of games in general, and I like a lot of different genres. So like, I think I could be better off giving you like a top 5 or a top 10 of my favorite VR games. I don't know, man. Everything from Farpoint to Saints and Sinners to lots of other stuff. Lots of stuff in UEVR. I'll tell you what, I do have a new favorite VR game that's because of UEVR. And I will get to that a little bit later. I will tell you. Stay tuned, Scott, for later in the episode. I will tell you what my favorite VR game is of all time because it is decided. Although it might be between 2 different ones, but we'll see. But you said, what game are you most hyped for? Yeah, right now, man, there's really good games coming out. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff coming. Everything from like Wander to Behemoth. I'd have to say maybe between like Wander and Behemoth, probably at this moment, are probably my most anticipated games. They look pretty sweet. I mean, Wanderer, I've kind of played on PSVR 1, and it felt like a PSVR 2 game at that time. And then Behemoth is, of course, devs, and I expect that to be really good. I don't know why this is like a still frame. Well, that's weird. Okay, now it wants to work. I was like, why did that just freeze? Okay. Anyways, but yeah, man, there's too many really good games, dude. Metro, the Metro game could be really good. Zombie Army's looking really good. Aces of Thunder, so much stuff, man. So much stuff to look forward to. Honestly, at least for the next year, I'm feeling pretty good. But all right, guys. So, Ghost of Tabor, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Hopefully there's an early access beta or something like that, or a closed beta for a limited amount of time to get some feedback, to get some, game testing on the PSN. Do that before they release it, please. That would be a good idea. Arcanage also looks great. Silver Nexus, what up, homie? Yeah, there's too many to list, really. So many good games and so many good games to look forward to that I have, and so many good games to look back on, from, like I said, everything from Farpoint to Astrobot, even though I know we don't say his name around here anymore, to so many different things. Rush of Blood, the reason I bought a PSVR in the first place and started my VR journey. All right, guys. So an interesting article popped up. There's been some leaks about the next Resident Evil, and I wanted to just quickly run by this article real quick from Game Informer because I thought it was an interesting read. Highly recommend you check it out. But they basically talked about the development of Resident Evil 4's VR mode, as well as kind of how that came to be, how the development went, as well as potential hints as to what they have planned for the future and what their goals are. So I'm not going to read the entire article, but we are going to skip ahead to part of this article here. Little bit of interesting facts about the VR mode for Resident Evil 4. But he says, we're going to start from right here, about halfway through the article. According to Kumizawa, the release of the VR mode for Resident Evil 4 was scheduled a year after the initial release of the base game, which came out on March 24th, 2023. So Resident Evil 4 was actually originally planned to be released in March of this year. But that changed because they say it ended up being less than that, being released as a free DLC on December 8th of the same year. This was partly thanks to the fact that when the core team was still developing the main game, it also started working on the aspects of the VR mode. Additionally, the director of Village helped the team during the initial phases of development, while Yamakawa himself worked on the VR version of Resident Evil 7. It made for a much smoother process, even if mechanics like dual-wielding weapons had to be made from scratch. In the, quote, Integrated Report 2015 document released by Capcom, which I must say, the Integrated Report 2015 sounds like something you would pick up in the game. In the same year, the company expressed its interest and commitment to VR for its development division 1, the group responsible for the Resident Evil series. 9 years later, half of the mainline Resident Evil games released in this time have gotten a VR version on PlayStation headsets. The Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes and Armature's version of RE4 are the outliers. When asked if so this is the important part coming up here, the couple important parts. When asked if the focus on VR has influenced the way Capcom develops new games in the franchise, knowing it'd be working on a VR version ahead of time, the team suggested otherwise. Quote, "The simple answer is no," end quote, Yamakawa says. It's very important to us that the main game is as interesting as possible, so we didn't make any changes to it just because there was going to be a VR mode. This, in addition, encompasses core additions like the parry. It wasn't until the team started iterating on the base game to translate the experience to VR that tweaks and changes to the mechanics were made. Whoa, would you look at that? Somebody send this over to Mr. Nicholas Doucette over at Team Asobi. Listen, I love Team Asobi. I got a lot of respect for Nicholas Doucette. But the reason I wanted to highlight what Capcom just said there is because when asked about the support for, Astrobot, or the lack of thereof, his reasoning, Nicholas Doucette was saying that, well, the game has to basically commit to VR or commit to flat screen. Well, lo and behold, look at Capcom, who's out here absolutely saying that they do not even let the addition of VR affect anything about the way they go in designing VR games. And this, my friends, is the right mentality to have. You don't have to, games can be hybrid, they can work. It's been proven over and over. So while I respect Nicholas Doucette, Team Asobi, wanting to have this grander vision of, it has to be perfect in VR. It has to be completely designed from the way it works in 3D spaces to, the immersive mechanics. They don't. Maybe that helps a little bit of your marketing or something. Maybe it makes it easier to explain why it is in VR. But at the end of the day, when it comes to people playing VR, these things, flat games can work in VR. That's what we're trying to get here. Capcom made it work, even had to make small sacrifices, and it's still considered. Look at what Capcom did. Resident Evils are considered some of the best VR games ever made. So just wanted to point that out. But that's not all, my friends. That's not all. Just had to get that off my chest. Again, I totally respect Team Asobi and what they're trying to say here, but at the same time, to think that it's not possible or just wouldn't work or wouldn't be significant is absolutely wrong. All right, so the interviewees say they implemented all the elements they wanted for Resident Evil 4 VR. Once they wrapped up the project, they realized VR was well suited to the franchise. While they didn't discuss specifics, Kumazawa says they, quote, plan to undertake more challenges in the future. Moreover, Kumazawa adds that one of the reasons for releasing the VR versions of Village and as a free DLC is that the team wants to try and help expand the VR market. Yomakawa, personally speaking, joined the project as a director because of his enthusiasm for VR. And then last thing he just says here is, when we received the first version of the original VR development kit, I spent a lot of time playing it, Yamakawa says. VR also matches with the Resident Evil franchise really well. I would like VR to get much more popular with the public. Since headsets can still be quite expensive and heavy, I would love for the kits to continue getting lighter and more affordable to make it more approachable to the general audience. So really interesting tidbits here, and obviously big tip of the beanie to Capcom, who have really been showing a lot of developers leading by example. I love that they're doing this. Obviously they probably had some funding and support from both Sony and Meta in making these VR conversions, but it's just good to know that they're also doing it because they want to, and they want to help the VR market grow. And that's an important piece that, is one of the reasons why it's having a positive impact in the way it is. Now, again, nothing against like Team Asobi and Nicholas Doucette, aside from, ripping our hearts out, but that's when you see the difference there, somebody that like wants to actually help and make a difference and help the VR market grow versus, not wanting to or not caring. And, it's, and the thing is, the last thing I'll say about Asobi is when it comes to Astrobot, it's not really like the total immersion of the game that really made me love the original. It's just a fun game to play in VR. It's a third-person platformer, and yes, it did have some built for VR mechanics, but that's, to me, not really what made it special. It could live without that and it still have been really, really fun. So, but again, interesting that Capcom have basically said that they plan to take on more challenges in the future. They're obviously being very vague, but with the rumors about Resident Evil 9 coming out, or something being announced in like January or something around there, I'll be curious to kind of see like if Capcom continues this trend of adding VR modes, which I think they 100% should. I will play every single one of these games, and it is, I agree with them. VR is a wonderful fit for Resident Evil games. It just works so incredibly well, and they're really fun and polished. And that being said, we don't obviously know like what platforms that them continuing to create VR modes for applies to. So just keep that in mind. It's a good sign that Capcom wants to continue adding VR modes, but we don't really know which headsets or whatever that applies to. Excuse me. That doesn't automatically mean PSVR 2, but that would be pretty amazing, of course. But that could also mean other things in the future, just with the way that things are going and whatnot. So definitely be keeping an eye on that. I honestly, at this point, I was like, there's no way, the Resident Evil 9 or whatever is going to have VR support. But it seems like it's not the case again, because to them it's more than just about money or whatnot. It's about the challenge of creating their games in VR, and kind of helping the VR market grow. So it will be interesting to keep our eyes on that. I wouldn't expect anything at launch personally, but that doesn't mean that there won't be more experiments or VR modes in the future. And I will tell you, I will be there to play them as soon as wherever they are. But yeah, great little article from Capcom devs. Keep killing it out there, guys. They are slaying. Alejandro says, dude, 4 of the top 5 games in the latest top 25 are flat games turned to VR. I think that's enough evidence. Well, yeah, I mean, there's been a little bit of it goes without saying, and I've said this, I've actually kind of touched base on this a couple times, in that while I think ultimately, if you gave like the budget and the scope of the games to like built from the ground up VR developers, like they could end up being better. But that being said, the reality is that like indie devs, smaller studios, things like that, experimental projects, they pale in comparison when it comes to the content that is offered from built from the ground up games. They're usually more about the mechanics and the cool things that they showcase and do, but then the games don't have a lot of depth to them. Synapse is a great example of this. Synapse is a technical marvel in so many different ways, but then you get done doing the cool technical things with it, and like, all right, well, where's the rest of my game? Like this is missing. And that's kind of the problem that I have been facing with VR games in the past, is that like this is why I've been exploring more things, especially with some of the recent developments of the technology and what's been going on. This is why my interest has suddenly expanded, because at the end of the day, I personally have enjoyed flat games converted to VR way more than I've enjoyed built from the ground up for VR games. Not saying that those can't, be as good, if not better, because they can, but just from what we've received so far, just from content wise, flat games converted to VR offer so much more. Yes, you can't pick up every last little leaf or interact with every last little thing, or there may be some compromises that have to be made, but it doesn't matter. Like, though, that's not what the experience is about. The experience isn't about touching being able to fold every last piece of paper in the game. The experience is about the game, which is what I care about the most. Happy 4th, everybody joining in, man. Happy 4th of July. Good to see all of you. Thank you for spending your 4th of July with me here today. All right, so let's see here. I do want to, this is interactive chat after all, so I do want to, read your comments and everything. Silver Nexus, my dude, says, I don't know. I'm new to VR with PSVR2. Synapse was enough for me and is fun for me, even though it could obviously be more. Yeah, I mean, again, that's why nobody like dislikes Synapse. But for me, it's like I want a reason to keep playing it. Like I was talking about, like, some of these other games. I like to really chew on a game for a very long time. I like it to be, this really extremely deep experience. And typically flat games just offer more of that deeper experience. But yeah, there's like Synapse is a wonderful game while it lasts, until you've seen and done everything there is to do, which is kill the 4 enemies in the game. And that's it. And so like it's going to take some time for, or a lot of more investing from, first party or independent studios, things like that. And it's if you look at the state of the gaming industry, it's like, well, we need to take a step back and be a little bit more patient for that. To me, the hybrid solution is the way you kind of close that gap a little bit faster. But yeah, it's, again, yeah, still some of the built from the ground up for VR games are some of my favorites. But when it comes to like what are the truly best, I think, you know, the flat converted to VR, just you can't compete with that content there. But you know what you can compete with is so before we move on to the PC segment of the show, we have to talk about some games on sale. This is, of course, the PlayStation Essentials sale. And of course, as always, there's some games that you need to pick up that have great deals right now. And I'm going to be giving the thumbs up, thumbs down, and we're going to run through these real quick. So are you ready? Feel free to give your own thumbs up and thumbs down in the chat. You may want to say what the game is when you do that. You know, let your voice be heard. Tell me, you know, that you agree or that you're wrong. But all right. So, first off, we have Gran Turismo 7 25th anniversary digital deluxe something edition. So this game, I mean, if there was one game you had to own for PlayStation VR2, I would say that game would be Gran Turismo. So it kind of gets a free pass, but that being said, I mean, this is a good value and all, but you can get the base game for like 30-40 bucks usually, like either physical or digital. So I would actually, when it comes to this specific version, I mean, I'm always going to say yes, have Gran Turismo, but this specific version, I might actually give the thumbs down to. I mean, but truth is, you should go out and just buy a brand new copy of the game, just the base game, and just have that. That being said, there's no wrong thumbs up, like Looper says, still buy it. Yeah, I mean, I would always recommend, like I said, if there's one game you could get. Same thing kind of goes here with Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition and Village Gold Edition, PS4, PS5. It's not necessarily the games itself. It's kind of the package right now. You know, Resident Evil 7's not on PSVR2, unfortunately. And and this is kind of bulked up in price a lot because of the additional content. Now Resident Evil 7, if you have a PSVR 1, yeah, you should have that, and you should get the gold edition because there is a lot of VR DLC. Not the case with Village. So this one, surprisingly, I'm going to also give the thumbs down. The chat totally says get it anyways, and I'm totally with you. You totally could. But for this specific sale, this one time only, I'm going to actually say no to both of these versions of these games. You can just get the individual base games for much cheaper. We're all about that saving money. This one is probably going to offend some people. Horizon Call of the Mountain is $39.59. Not a bad price. I mean, for a AAA quality VR game, that ain't bad. For me personally, though, I think Horizon should be like, I'd give like a no hesitation thumbs up for $30. For $40, $10 more, it's kind of like meh. Like, you know, I'm actually shooting down the big AAA games right now. I'm gonna say no to this. I like Horizon Call of the Mountain somewhat, but I also didn't enjoy some of it. I don't think it was the game I wanted, but it's okay for what it is. And it does some really good things. There are moments in the game that are awe-inspiring and really cool. It's a great showcase. It is definitely a high quality experience, but it's just not a great game. So I would say, $30 is the sweet spot for Horizon Call of the Mountain. $40 is not the worst, but I'm going to say pass for right now. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted Full-Time Edition, $20.99. Is that the PS5 game? That is the PS5 game. Let's see here. The Full-Time Edition. I guess that's the... Okay, that does include the thing. I actually really like the Five Nights at Freddy's game. I would recommend maybe getting this closer to Halloween. This isn't like a go out and buy it right now, but I'm actually going to give it a thumbs up, kind of. I'm going to give it like a maybe. Get it closer to Halloween. Let's give it a thumbs down for now. I feel a little weird giving a thumbs down to Horizon, Resident Evil, and Gran Turismo, and then saying thumbs up to Five Nights at Freddy's. This sale, just hold off. Wait till closer to Halloween for this Five Nights at Freddy's. Project Wingman is $23.99. No, this game's crap. It sucks. It's not good. It's 6 short, bad graphics levels, and it doesn't even support the HOTAS. So hard pass on Project Wingman. Cooking Simulator VR is $17.49. Unfortunately, I haven't played this game, so I'm going to have to skip this one. But let me know in the chat. Say thumbs up, thumbs down to Cooking Simulator if you like that or not. Or if you can. Ultra Wings 2 Electric Boogaloo is $13.99. And $11.99 with PlayStation Plus. Ladies and gents, we finally have a winner here for $13 or especially for $11. I do give the thumbs up to Ultra Wings 2. It is a fun little flight sim with loads of content. It came out a little bit later than I would have liked. It came out at kind of a weird time, had a weird launch. But it's a really fun game and it's a really good time. It looks pretty good overall. It's not, obviously it's got a little bit of a cartoony look. So if that's going to bother you, you might not like it very much. But gameplay wise, content wise, it's good. Would definitely recommend that. Just like I would also recommend Hubris for $14.99. Now we're getting into the next gen experiences, man. Hubris, $14.99. Big thumbs up. Only about 5 hours long, so it's not like a huge title or anything. But I thoroughly enjoyed Hubris. Just a great sci-fi adventure, super good graphics, and lots of different variety of mechanics. Vince Virtua says, I don't have a flight sim game. I guess Ultra Wings 2 is it? Yes, Ultra Wings 2 is very much like Flight Sim Junior. But it and Pilot Wings mixed. Yes, Shapeshifter. It's like Flight Sim and Pilot Wings mixed. It's good, man. It's good. It's not, it might not like blow you away, but the mechanics are really good and the content's pretty good. So, but if you just missed what I said, yes to Hubris. Les Mills Body Combat. I mean, if I'm gonna say no because if I want to work out, I'll just like go to the gym or go for a run. But yeah, no. Synth Riders Remastered Edition is $17.49 or with PlayStation Plus. Included. Subscribe to PlayStation Plus to access. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can get Synth Riders on PlayStation Plus Premium now. So go for that if you can. You also get like 6 other games. Hopefully you grabbed it already with that deal. Crisis Brigade 2 Reloaded is $11.24. I like this game quite a bit. It is a kind of blind fire simulator, so keep that in mind. But it is a good arcade shooter, and I like it. It's also got some funny movie references in it. Not an amazing game, but a good, small game. It's okay. I'll give like a thumbs up, I'll give a weak thumbs up for Crisis Brigade. We've also got another arcade shooter, Tiger Blade, for $14.99 or $12.49. So if you can get Tiger Blade for $12.49, I'm going to give this a slightly stronger thumbs up maybe than Crisis Brigade. But just keep in mind that it's uses a lot of K-pop, but it's very much like a Time Crisis with ninjas kind of and a sword. So kind of cool. Mark Poppin' Pringles Leaf says, I just bought Crisis Brigade 2 yesterday. Did you play it yet? What'd you think? All right, guys. Let's keep this going here. Next, we have Pixel Ripped 1995 is $11.99. Not a bad deal. I actually really like this game. If you're feeling nostalgic and whatnot, like Super Nintendo games, it's pretty good. I give like a very very weak thumbs up. Here we go, guys. This is, of course, the golden buzzer. I'm giving it to Paint the Town Red, $15.99. It is 20% off, guys. Paint the Town Red gets my golden buzzer of the week. If you could only buy one game from this sale, it needs to be Paint the Town Red. This is your chance. When I was talking about chance for redemption, this game is so much fun, dude. It looks like voxel art, but it's extremely gory. And it's fun, like punching these little pixel guys in the face, and their faces just disintegrate, and then it exposes like bone and tissue and blood, and it's all pixelated, so it's not like gross or anything, but it is super gory. There's also a super hot mode if you've been missing super hot. Yes, head bite. I am absolutely for real. I 100% give my golden buzzer. The one game to pick is Paint the Town Red. Yes, I know, it's crazy. Listen, when I started playing Paint the Town Red, or when I was about to start playing it, I was like, I don't really feel like playing this. And then I started playing it and I was like, holy shit, this is really good. And on top of that, it's got different modes. Like I said, it's got a great like scenario combat mode. It's got a great arena mode, which is actually pretty fun, even though I'm not like crazy about arenas. And then it's got this mode called Beneath, which is like a roguelike dungeon crawler mode, which is really cool. But yeah, man, this is my strong recommendation from this sale. I know it might sound crazy to some, but I'm not kidding when I say Paint the Town Red is excellent. It is super good. If you like super hot, things like that, Swordsman, you're going to like this game, possibly even more. Walkabout Mini Golf Hole-in-One Edition is $30. Walkabout Mini Golf is fantastic. I cannot say no to it. I do recommend it. So big thumbs up there. Sushi Ben is $19.99, or it looks like it has an additional discount and is $18.74. Sushi Ben is okay if you want a visual novel, but I don't want a visual novel. I want a game. So I'm going to give a no to Sushi Ben, although it wasn't like horrible or anything. It wasn't that bad. System Critical 2 is $13.99. I know some people kind of like this game. I'm going to say no, though. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it that much either. It was just kind of cool to jump in. It would need to be on a deeper discount for me to recommend. Last Labyrinth VR. We're going to speed through the rest of these. Last Labyrinth VR, Tales of Honor Goro, and all of those combinations of that. Just no to all of them. I did like Tale of Honor Goro a little bit more, but it was still kind of meh. Last Labyrinth I thought was terrible. Organ Quarter is $17.49. Some people say they like this because it gives them Silent Hill nostalgia. I it didn't do it for me. It's got a bit of charm to it, some charming qualities to it, but for that price, I would not recommend it unless you just really antsy to stick your head in a giant TV butthole. Down and Out is don't care, because it is one of the worst games ever made and should never exist, and really honestly should be removed from the store. So two thumbs down. It's the reverse of the golden buzzer of the sale. If there's one game you need to stay absolutely far away from in this sale, it is Down and Out. Oh man. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, Power Metal music pack for Drums Rock. I love Drums Rock. Love this game. Fantavision 2020X. It's too boring. It's like it was an okay concept, but it's boring. Umurangi Generation VR. I kind of liked it, but it needs to be way cheaper. It is feels like way too cheap of a game to be paying $17 for. O-Shape Ultimate. I'm a little bit interested in O-Shape. $15.99 or $13.99. This is a great concept, and it is a very good workout game, even though that's not like really why I play. But that being said, O-Shape has terrible music, and for that reason, for the soundtrack alone, if O-Shape had a better soundtrack, I would give it a huge thumbs up. But unfortunately, the music is terrible, copyright free, bad music, and it's just awful. So it gets a no, because I hate the music so much in that it breaks the game for me. Forest Farm, I don't know, and I don't care. Crazy Kung Fu, I don't actually know. I haven't played. Island Time, no. Sugar Mess, actually, how much is it? Doesn't matter. Island Time is $11, still too much. No. Sugar Mess, I haven't played, and Doctor Who Collection, no. So, just to run through one more time here to highlight my big picks from this sale. I actually do really like Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted. That's actually a really, really fun game. I don't know if that's the full-time edition. I think that's the VR one, yeah. I would actually recommend that. I would recommend Ultra Wings 2 and Hubris, as well as Paint the Town Red. Those would be my picks from this sale. If you're feeling arcadey and want to support some cool indie devs, Tiger Blade and Crisis Brigade 2 are great arcade shooters as well. So that does it for the PSN sale, as well as our PlayStation VR2 / PS5 centric conversation of the show. Some decent games there though, guys. I would definitely, like I said, don't sleep on Paint the Town Red. It's super fun. All right, guys. So continuing last week, it is time once again to talk about PCVR. PCVR? PCVR. That's right. Why? Because in 1 month and 3 days from today, the PlayStation VR2 PC adapter is going to be dropping. And last week, I started my first time talking about a little segment about kind of an introduction to PC VR, and it's more specifically UEVR, because Unreal Engine VR mod is basically the reason I grabbed a PC and started tinkering with it. The PC VR library before Unreal Engine VR was just kind of meh, like, in my opinion, for me. There's some good stuff later. Virtual Resistance. There's hell yeah, Headbite. Let's go, man. Let me know what you think. There's some good games on PC VR, but there was never enough to really convince me to go out and, get a PC. There wasn't enough of a library. Well, things have changed dramatically. mostly for me, mostly because of UEVR. And I went into extensive detail last week talking about that when it comes to the UEVR, you're going to have a really, really strong PC. And with PSVR2, that's going to be the case, at least at launch. We're going to talk about UEVR in a second. But let's say you just have a mid-range PC, or, you know, just one. As what I recommend is, if you're getting the PC adapter, I recommend you don't jump into Unreal Engine VR right away, because there's still a lot of unknowns at launch. And there's going to be some probably updates that are needed, some different things to wait for. In the meantime, however, there are native PC VR games that I think just out of the box are going to be pretty hassle-free. If you've played PSVR 2 on a console, you're going to be very familiar with how to set it up and how it works and everything. Might have to tinker with some graphics a little bit, but that's about it. But there is a Steam sale, a huge Steam summer sale right now. And I have some recommendations of some games that if you're planning to get the PSVR 2 PC adapter next month, you need to go ahead and grab these games right now. Now, disclaimer, your best friend also is going to be, and shout out to Wes for giving me this advice, because this was super important. Before you go out and buy any game on Steam ever, you need to check the retailers' online websites, cdkeys.com, instant-gaming, G2A. I use CD Keys probably the most. Even when you see a great game on Steam on sale, before you hop on that, you need to go check CD Keys at least first. And go check that out, because oftentimes there are games that are heavily more discounted on there available. And yeah, so just tip number one. But that being said, right now there's some amazing deals on Steam, and they're pretty much the cheapest you're going to be able to find them right now. And these are the games that day one, I think you should be playing on your PSVR 2 on PC, because I think these are going to be the easiest to run, the most compatible. Like I said, we're going to have some more additional talk about UEVR in a little bit, but first I wanted to highlight some games from this sale. The first game is not Half-Life Alyx. The first game is Half-Life 2, because it is 99 cents right now. That's right. Half-Life 2 is 99 cents on the Steam store right now, and it is awesome. It has a free VR mod update. It's called the Half-Life 2 VR mod, but you also just download it like you would a DLC update on PSN. But this game looks and runs fantastically on PC, because it's an older title, obviously. But it's remember talking about VR hybrids, man. This is like one of those big PC VR hybrids. This game is not a hassle to play. It's not a hassle to set up. You literally just download from Steam the VR mod like you would a DLC and install it, and boom, you have the entirety of Half-Life 2 in VR, and it runs at a really high it's really high resolution, really high frame rate. I was playing it at 120 hertz, and like 4K visuals pretty much, or 2K visuals, I guess technically. And there was no tinkering required. So first and foremost, you need to grab Half-Life 2, and then download Half-Life 2 VR mod and get ready. This is going to be a day one game that you want to try. And also, if you've been following and have either picked up a haptic vest or have a haptic vest, this game does have a haptic vest support as well, and is pretty badass with it. Okay, so now that I mentioned Half-Life 2, let's talk about the other Half-Life. Well, Half-Life Alyx, obviously the flagship PC VR title. I honestly have only played up to like chapter 2. I've been liking it so far, but I've spent a lot more time with Half-Life 2 at this point. I'm really waiting for the PSVR 2 adapter before I continue my journey with Half-Life Alyx. So I would start with Half-Life 2 first, and then maybe jump into Half-Life Alyx afterwards. But Half-Life Alyx is $20.39, pretty cheap. Again, maybe want to check Steam, or I'm sorry, CD Keys, Instant Gaming, G2A. Maybe check those first. But this is a $20 for Half-Life Alyx. That's a good deal. You'll have that ready for your PC VR day one. A couple other recommendations that you need to pick up if you're getting the PlayStation VR2 PC adapter. You need to pick up Subnautica, baby. Woo! It's been a long time coming. Man, we wanted this. We were asking for Subnautica on PSVR 1 back in 2017, 2018. We were begging for this. And at that time, even the PC version just ran like crap. Was like really bad apparently. What happened to my footage here? Why'd it pause? Let me restart that. It's breaking. Well, that's not the game freezing, I don't think. I think that's my little gameplay clip here. I actually recorded some of my own footage of Subnautica, but Subnautica, both Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, the sequel, are both only there we go. Now it's back up and running again. Are both only $9.89 on Steam right now. You must download these. Again, day one, these day one, these are going to be games that are going to be should be compatible and fully playable, mostly like, hassle-free games to get up and running on your PSVR 2 on PC. Also, this game has been like a dream come true. Now, in this footage, I'm actually playing it with a motion controller mod. It's pretty easy. I'll have the instructions on how to install it when it gets there. But again, we don't know what's going to be supported at launch. So if the motion controller support does not work for Subnautica at launch, you still just want to add it to your library and have it ready for when that time comes, because I do think it's either going to work at launch or it's going to be modded or work after at some point. But if it doesn't, you will be forced to play it with a controller, which would kind of suck. It's not a VRAF game. It's more just about just kind of pointing and clicking. And then you have like the freedom of your hands. So it's pretty cool. Like, this has been one of my like dream games to play in VR. And after 7 years, I finally get to play Subnautica. And the best part is that I hear that the sequel is even better, which is crazy. So for under $20 or about $20, you get both games. They look great. They run great, especially with today's graphics cards and processors and stuff. I don't even think this is when I had the game like fully optimized and running, but you can really push this game and it still runs pretty well. I think I'm playing it at like, I don't know, 90 native or something, 120 native. I don't really know actually, but Subnautica, guys, dream come true for me in VR. I've been looking forward to this game for so long, and it was totally worth the hype, totally worth the wait. It is so fun. It is an action adventure survival game. So if you're not into survival mechanics, you may be a little turned off from that. However, you can play it without the survival mechanics. I love how I grabbed that that bladderfish. You use a lot of the resources in the environment for survival, for crafting, things like that. So it is a sci-fi adventure with survival and crafting mechanics in it. I cannot wait to experience this with the PSVR2 headset, although I'm already technically able to with other hardware. But this has been an absolute blast to play, and the motion controller mod is great. I hope that has support day one, but don't be surprised if it doesn't. It may need it may need a little bit of time to get an update for controller support, and hopefully somebody makes it happen because it is one of the best I've played so far. Distracted says Star Wars Squadrons is already loaded, good to go. Yes, Star Wars Squadrons is on the store as well. That is a good one. I think I mentioned this last week, but I did pick up some of my old PSVR 1 library, because the thing is about Steam, man, is like, and CD keys is like, these games are dirt cheap. Like, they're so old now, but they're still relevant, and for people jumping into PC for the first time, they're going to be amazing to experience for the first time. That's what it's been like for me. I mean, like I said, this is some of the best new things you can experience that we never got on PSVR 1 or PSVR 2. Man, this is magical. But like I said, maybe you got to wait and see about motion controls. It's not a huge difference, but it is significant enough to where if you have the option, you definitely want to choose motion controls. All right, but yeah, I picked up Star Wars Squadrons and I picked up Skyrim VR. I don't know if I'm going to play Skyrim, but I was like, well, it's $10 or something. I'm just going to stack. My library of games right now on PC is actually pretty stacked. It's kind of a similar deal to like to PSVR and PSVR2, where there's hundreds of games that are like worth playing, but there's like 20 to 40 max like must plays. And that's kind of like how it is. They're a little bit different, but they're similar in many ways. But dude, Subnautica, phenomenal game, so much fun, and I can't wait to finally beat this and then play Subnautica 2, which, like I said, is supposed to be even better. Both of those, $9.89. The last game that I would recommend on sale right now, none of these games, by the way, are UEVR games, and I'll get into that in just a moment when we swap to that discussion. These are all native PC VR games that I would recommend you start with first if you're new to PC and PC VR, because these are going to be the path of least resistance and a wonderful experience. And these will also run on potato PCs, mostly potato PCs. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. Metal Game Cat Solid Fritz in the house tonight. What up, my friend? Says I want to play Grip in VR. I don't think Grip is first person, which is why I haven't picked it up yet. But he says Roll Cage clone also on PS4. Oh, I am well aware, my friend. And I am also well aware of Roll Cage and Roll Cage 2, which I played the absolute shit out of on PS1. Love those games. And yeah, Grip is the spiritual successor. I'm pretty like open-minded. Like I might try it with the third person. It does go for dirt cheap, but it's just not a priority for me right now. It probably is fantastic though. But I would love like first person in that. Games don't have to be first person for me all the time, but I prefer them to be, unless they're like a 3D platformer, like like we know good and well. Headbite, dude, enjoy Paint the Town Red, man. Thank you for trusting me there and picking that up. You are not going to be disappointed. It's so much fun, man. It's got great haptics too. Dude, have fun because that game is just a wild blast. Good for you, man. Markio, I've been eyeballing Assetto Corsa. I don't think anything's going to be better. I don't think anything is going to be better than Gran Turismo 7. But that being said, I will try it at some point. It doesn't have to be better than Gran Turismo 7, right? It just has to be really good, and I'll still enjoy it. Again, not really like a priority for me because I have GT7 and I have so much more that I want to play. But I'm still really excited to check out Assetto Corsa. It should be good. The last native PC VR game that I would recommend on this sale is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Now, I know that Flight Sim 2024 is coming out, but I don't think you really have to wait. I think you should go ahead and there's a lot of cool stuff to experience on this, and it's not going to require as beastly as a PC to play. This has had lots more years to get optimized and everything. You can also save a lot of money because it's half price, I think, at $30. It is $29.99. This is the most expensive game on the list. Now, this isn't a traditional game, although it does have some gamey-like elements and some game-like modes. I'll tell you what I really love about Flight Sim, besides all of it, is like it's just an amazing immersive experience. There's a mode, I think I talked about this last week. There's a mode where it uses like satellite mapping to create like the world basically, and you can fly around, and it is crazy accurate and detailed to the areas. I took off from the Atlanta airport. I flew over buildings that I see all around Atlanta, exact same design and shape. And I flew around my neighborhood. I saw my neighborhood. I saw my gas station. I saw my Lowe's, the sign. That alone is really, really cool to experience, flying over your neighborhood, or if you've traveled at all, taking a similar flight and seeing how accurate and realistic it is. It is incredible. On top of this, there are some game modes as well. There's stuff like the Top Gun Maverick mode, which is free DLC, by the way. It comes with some training missions, and then it comes with some challenges. It feels like little mini games, basically. They're really cool. And then there's the Dune Ornithopter stuff, which is really, really cool. And that's where you get to fly like the Dune-like dragonfly helicopter thing through a dune environment. I said last week, again, I'm not going to go too far into this, but the Dune experience was like kind of an eye-opener for me. Like, whoa, like this is what happens when you gamify Flight Simulator. It is actually, it makes for a really great game, especially with like the rescue mission, racing against a sandstorm of trying to find somebody, pick them up, and then race to safety in this thing. It was super cool. The little supply run where you go through the desert and you touch down on these little launch pads and then go to the next one and get to the finish line. Really, really great experience. Got stuff like leaderboards too, if you're into that kind of thing. I just like the experience itself. But so that's it for, there's probably several other games, but to be honest with you, the Steam sales that happen, they happen often. So the Steam sales are a lot like the PSN sales. They occur pretty frequently and they are heavily discounted. So my first picks, again, if you're planning day one to have a PC VR setup, day one with the PSVR 2, I would go for Half-Life 2, Half-Life Alyx, Subnautica Below Zero, and Flight Simulator. Those are going to be the path of least resistance to jump into PC VR for the first time. This is pretty good. Macho says, "We are so lucky to be getting access to these PC games, guys. They are so good. These games are incredible. They really, really are." Scott, the PSVR game cat for life, says, "But can you double pop some balloons in it, AJ?" I don't know. You can definitely double pop balloons in Ultra Wings too, so maybe you can pick that up from this sale, the PSN sale. PJ, I'll maybe pick up ACC and check it out. Since you guys are tempting me, there's a lot of games. My PCVR library has grown quite a bit. I think I have about 25, 30 games, but they're not any games. They're like good games, like really, really good games, which we are going to get into now because we are going to continue the conversation a little bit about what to expect with the launch of the PSVR2 PC adapter next month, as well as some more things you need to know about UEVR. Because it's really, really important to stress once again that UEVR, while it's incredible, it's life-changing, it's also kind of in its early stages. And that goes for the PC adapter as well. PSVR 2 at launch isn't going to have all the bells and whistles yet. There's going to be some of the reasons that I'm able to even run some of these games or achieve some of these things are because of software and compatibility. These are not things that are typically readily available at launch. These are things that took the Quest 2 years to get. Hopefully, it doesn't take that long to get some of these things. We know that the PC, that PSVR 2 is not going to be launching with, we know that it's not going to be launching with, like eye tracking, haptics, things like that. It will have some functionality, like it will have foveated rendering, not dynamic foveated rendering. It will have rumble in the controllers, things like that. So there's going to basically be, it's going to basically be basic. And it will require a DisplayPort 1.4 cable, which I went ahead and ordered. Basically what I was reading about was you want it to at least be able to support 4K no, I'm sorry. Was it 4K? I think it was 4K at 60 hertz. And then like 1080p or something at 144 hertz, something like that. No, 4K at 144 hertz. And then 8K at like something at like 60. That's what it was. But anyways, that's a lot of technical hoo-ha for right now. But guys, so again, like I said, Shapeshifter says, AJ, which headset are you using for PC at the moment? I'm using just a plain old Quest 2. And and let me tell you, the reason the Quest 2 is really, really good is because of some of the software that is available to run it. The thing is, and this is, again, this is all stuff to keep in mind at the launch of PSVR 2's adapter, is that the base software for the Quest 2 is okay. Like it's okay. Especially some of the stuff with launch, like using a Quest 2 with the cable plugged in, everybody is actually pretty terrible. It is a terrible experience, but it does not use a DisplayPort. It uses USB 3.0. So it doesn't have the speed or whatever. And from what I've gathered, the difference is native, like PC headsets, they typically use DisplayPort, something like that, and there's zero latency. And with the reason that the Quest 2 works so well for me right now is because of I have a Wi-Fi 6 router, and I have a mid-grade PC, but then also I'm utilizing some of the software that's been designed for I'm utilizing some of the software that was designed for the Quest 2 that took, I think, years to come out. But it adds these methods that you can use to be able to play some of these games and have a better experience. Steam VR, at launch, it seems like PSVR 2 is going to be using Steam VR. That is like an okay launcher, but it is not as good. It actually kind of pales in comparison to some of the other options available, like Virtual Desktop, which is a game-changing piece of software for using the Quest on PC VR. In terms of freeing up, a lot of PC, like I said, is about freeing up a lot of the resources on your computer. You don't want to be bogged down. You want basically all that power, all that juice going into the game and your gaming experience. And these are things you're going to have to keep in mind. Things like, might have to lower resolution to get better performance. Really, I've found that frames per second are the priority. You want a smooth FPS while playing. And I don't play games at 120, frames per second or whatever. Sometimes, depending, especially with UEVR, I play them with like 60 frames per second. I also utilize, again, some of the smoke and mirrors with some of the software out there. If I boost my PC and as far as it can go, and it still can't run some of these games, there's additional tricks and alternatives, kind of like what we have seen with PSVR2 in terms of like reprojection, right? There's methods that they have on other software, on other headsets, that they have in order to increase performance and have a smoother experience. And I've been having to utilize a lot of that with my mid-range PC in order to play some of these, especially UEVR games. So just something to keep in mind. The native plug and play thing is going to be a lot. It's going to have some advantages, but it's also we're going to have to wait a little bit of time for some of these features and mods to get added. Fingers crossed that they do, and in a timely manner, to things like we don't even know if UEVR is going to be supported with PSVR2 day one. I assume somebody's going to have eye-tracked foveated rendering. That is going to be the big performance enhancer for PSVR2 on PC. Quest software, they have something called asynchronous space warp, which is similar to like the reprojection technology that we've seen. Virtual Desktop has synchronous space warp, which basically what it does is it halves the frames of the game that's what the game's rendering, and then extrapolates the remaining frames in the headset. So it basically renders the game at half the frame rate and then fills in the missing ones on the headset. And what it does is that it frees up computational space so that the computer can handle more strain and perform better. With PSVR 2 at launch, it's not going to have any of this software available. So games are going to be just running raw off the raw power of your PC, and the more stronger PC you have, the easier time it's going to be getting. But yeah, it's similar to like reprojection basically. And it's what we know as reprojection, but it, and I tell you one thing, I now understand why the PC VR people or PC players were so like crazy about like reprojection and it being used and ghosting. Like a lot of us were like, well, I don't see, like, it's not a big deal. The reason they freak out about this is because on PC VR, it can be much, much worse than what we've seen. As you know, the big advantage of playing on a console is that these games are fully optimized for the PS5 console and PS4 console. So they usually like are fully optimized. They look wonderful, everything. Messing with settings and messing with the space warp stuff, that can get out of hand really fast if and it can look awful. The ghosting on PC VR is like 10 times worse than PSVR 2 was. And that, my friends, is why people freak out or were freaking out about reprojection on PlayStation VR 2. Granted, there were some games where it was, a lot of games were more offenders than others, like Horizon. Horizon is a great example of when reprojection goes bad. That game is really, really bad. So you do have the advantage of having full control over this. I've used the reprojection on PC VR, but I've also adjusted the settings so that it doesn't show as bad. Like, you can mask it really, really well too, which is what I've had to do for some games. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about the potential here. And while I do so, I'm going to roll some of what I've been playing on PSVR, on PC VR. In fact, using UEVR. This is all my footage here captured. Now, I am capturing from the same PC, so there could be some performance here. But guys, so there are some mods that exist, but let me tell you, man, like I've played some games using mods, in particular the Luke Ross mod, and props to that guy for making some games even playable in VR. But guys, when it comes to Unreal Engine VR, this shit is special. It not like my combination right now, I am able to play Final Fantasy VII on a mid-grade PC, Final Fantasy VII Remake at a solid 60 frames per second, as well as really, really sharp resolution. And good graphic settings and everything. Now, again, I'm recording footage on the same PC that I am playing on, so you might see a little bit of frame dips here and there, a little bit of performance things here and there. But good God, you guys, I'm playing my favorite game of all time in VR, and that shit is magical. Now, this is what's going to be really important, though. The reason I'm able to play this on my PC is, like I said, using some of the software and compatibility things. This game is not going to run unless you have like a monstrous PC. FF7 and stuff is not going to run really well. I'm going to continue just rolling some gameplay here. This is a look at Hot Wheels Unleashed, which I picked up for like $5, dirt cheap. Hot Wheels Unleashed, and the thing about UEVR is not only does it let you play games in VR, it also lets you manipulate the camera with and I've compared it several times to like playing an emulator, where if you have any experience messing with an emulator, or if you've ever run into issues playing with an emulator, and yes, Ghost Shot, you are 100% correct that this UEVR, the reason I recommended the native PC VR games first is because you're going to have to get used to just learning how to use VR on a PC first. There are rules and you must follow those rules and obey them and learn about it first. Once you get the basics down, then you can come over to UEVR, as well as start learning some, allowing some time for developers or mods to start implementing some features for the PSVR2 to take advantage of, so that it can help your PC run. The most important feature that we need on PC, the most important feature besides just as much controller compatibility as possible, is eye-tracked foveated rendering, which, I kid you not, is already in the works. There's tons of people, or not tons of people, but there are people that are already trying to get eye-tracked foveated rendering working, or planning to, and they believe it's going to be possible. We're just still waiting for the adapter that's 1 month away. Lo and behold, I continue to show you the magic of UEVR. Borderlands 3 also on sale right now for $9. I got Borderlands 3 for under $10 and currently has motion controller support. That's right. Has motion controller support, as well as a first-person profile. I didn't have to really, while there's a couple rules to follow, you really just need a couple directions, and then you can get this stuff working yourself. But Borderlands 3 in VR with first person motion controls. It is pretty fantastic. There is a little bug with it though, in terms of being able to use the special ability. The special ability breaks the turning in this game right now. So this isn't a completely flawless thing, but I'm hoping that somebody gets this updated, or maybe if I get the time, I'll just have to go in and try to make the profile myself. I don't know. I'm not capable of that just yet. But from the little that I've played, I had a lot of fun with Borderlands 3 in VR so far. For those of us that played Borderlands 2 in VR, this is a very similar experience. I've also talked about Spyro VR and how fantastic this is. If you're mad about Astrobot not being in VR, well, first of all, we need to not give up on that. We need to keep wanting Astrobot in VR. But that being said, you know what really helps the pain of not getting Astrobot? That is playing Spyro and Crash Bandicoot in VR. Now these, Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot 4, when you got to kind of ease yourself into using UEVR. There's a little bit of a setup process, installation process at first. There's things like it acting up with your antivirus software. So you got to there's rules, there's steps you got to do first. But once you get it going, it is fantastic. And it's surprisingly easy to use. Like, it's a very user-friendly console. But dude, if you're upset about Astrobot, it is, for me, I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. But I have Spyro and Astrobot and Spyro and Crash and Sackboy's Adventure with ray tracing. That really makes it feel a lot better. Let me tell you, man. It is so much better. But the thing about Spyro and Crash and Sackboy is that these are also really good games to get your feet wet with UEVR with. These games do not take a lot of setup. These are basically games where you just inject and you get going. These are great for introducing yourself to UEVR. That's another important thing. Not only are they some of the best running games, now here we're talking, man. Scott, you had asked me what my favorite VR game is. It's not even a VR game. It's not even a native VR game. You guys, this is where my mind has been completely blown, you guys. Returnal has become my favorite VR game of all time. I think it's the best VR shooter ever made as well. And I do not say that lightly. I think Returnal in first-person VR, is actually a better first-person shooter than Resident Evil and Half-Life. I shit you not. One of my biggest accomplishments, I feel, was getting this game running with 60 frames per second. But not only 60 frames per second, but getting it looking nice and smooth as well. Now, this is a game that, unless you have the highest of the highest end of PCs, I don't think, again, first of all, we have to wait and see. We have to give the UEVR flat to VR modders a little bit of time to even get PSVR2 working with UEVR first and foremost. But this is why eye-tracked foveated rendering is going to be crucial and could potentially make PSVR2 one of the best PC VR headsets, because if they're able to utilize eye-tracked foveated rendering and free up your PC's performance to be able to play bigger budget AAA games, that's going to be a huge night and day difference. But that has to happen first. Keep in mind, this is not something that I expect to be available at launch. It's gonna take some time for, hopefully it's just like a week or two to at least get started. We'll see how fast people can crack crack the code here and implement this. We'll see how fast the Flat to VR team can get this done. But I'm playing Rody. I am playing on, yes, if I'm playing on a RTX 4080, I'm playing on an RTX 4060 Ti, which is like a mid-range graphics card, or considered a mid-range graphics card, and a Ryzen 5 processor. And look how smooth and beautiful I got this running. And let me tell you guys, if and when PSVR2 gets eye-tracked foveated rendering, there's a good chance we'll be able to play this just through Steam VR and UEVR and have a similar experience to this. But it's gonna really rely on either having a monster PC or some of these. Really, I think it's more important to have the software compatibility and firmware and things like that. That's going to be more crucial to be able to make these things happen. But guys, I have put about 20 hours into Returnal in VR, and it's my dream VR game, and it is woof. Man, I cannot tell you, you don't know how long I've been wanting to, like, I've got all this footage that, like, you're not going to believe it when you see it. It's hard to describe. Like, my mind is absolutely blown playing Returnal in VR. Do you want to see do you guys want to see like a boss fight or something? Do you want to see what a boss fight looks like? Because I can show you that real quick. If you want to see that, I will show a quick gameplay demonstration of that. In this footage, I specifically recorded all this footage trying to, Scott, he says, have I died yet? I've died like 5,000 times in Returnal. This is Crash Bandicoot in VR. Crash Bandicoot 4. Make that very clear because a lot of people don't make that clear. This is Crash Bandicoot 4 uses Unreal Engine VR. And again, Unreal Engine VR is better than any other mod I've tried so far. Like, again, I've tried Luke Ross mods and everything. I've tried all these other things. They're good. Some of them are the only options you have. But what makes UEVR so special is how just amazing it works and how well, like, you don't have to sacrifice the game's graphics or performance or anything. Like, some of these games just work in UEVR. Crash is a great example of that. And get to enjoy this. Look how beautiful this looks and smooth and everything. Okay. You guys want to see a tech demonstration of the boss fight. Let me see here. What do I got here? I don't know which footage this is going to be here. But I don't know if this is going to be the good footage or not. We'll go with this one. Now, some of I've got a bunch of different footage. Some performance is better than others. But you guys just sit back and enjoy. This is a boss fight of the second boss using UEVR. It's mostly a stable 60 frames per second. I might lose a little bit because of recording on the PC at the same time. And there are some camera angle issues here. This is really the only thing other than the camera angles. Like, Returnal works perfectly. But check this shit out. Oh, is there no sound on this? There should be. There's no sound? There's supposed to be sound. Look at this, you guys. Look at this. Can you believe this? And this is not my best run or my best fight with this guy. This is incredible, you guys. This game is so amazing in VR. It's not, I can't even believe it's real. All right. That's all you get for now, though. That's all you get for now. Dude, did y'all see that? Did you see how smooth that was running? That's on a mid-grade PC. So like I said, that is with the help of some software that is available on Quest 2 and stuff. That stuff, I'm not expecting. That's not going to be day one stuff that we can do probably with PSVR 2. Unless you just have a monster of a PC, but I don't even think even with the monster PC, you're going to be able to do that day one. Give it time though. I'm just trying to set expectations at launch. I'm just trying to set expectations for the launch of the PC adapter coming out next month. That's why I said start with Half-Life 2, Half-Life Alyx, Subnautica, Flight Simulator. Start with those. Any other PC, if you want to pick up Squadrons, some native PC VR games, that's what you're going to want to start with. Get familiar with how to optimize your system, what your system can run. And Steam VR actually has some really good tools for you to be able to like see how your thing is doing. You can actually run performance monitors and stuff, so you can see your frames. You don't just have to guess, basically. Like there's actually tools where you can literally measure the frames per second, the latency, things like that. And that's going to be really helpful for you kind of honing in, finding that sweet spot of performance and quality that you're going to do. You guys don't know how many hours I've spent learning this stuff recently. But yeah, man, it has been a phenomenal experience. UEVR is what sold me on PC VR. Like I said, the PC VR library had some good titles, but to me, you guys know me, man. Like there's going to be some native games I love, like, Subnautica, like Half-Life and stuff. But to me, nothing is more impressive than what UEVR is able to do. It's basically our dream come true of having, every game, in this case, every Unreal Engine 4 and 5 game. Look, here we go again with Sackboy. I cannot tell you how amazing this looks in the headset. This is like with object detail on, with screens, with like reflections. This is ray trace shadows in the game. This is a phenomenal experience. But yeah, man, this is absolutely amazing. What up, Wes? Virtual strangers in the house tonight, my homie. Words cannot describe how incredible this is and how excited you should be about this PC adapter. Listen, guys, I look forward to the games that are coming out on PSVR 2. I really do. Like Alien and Wanderer and Behemoth and Aces of Thunder. There's a lot to look forward to there. But beyond that, we don't really know what's going to be happening. And if you are just into flat games and wanting to play flat games in VR, like this is where the future is headed towards. There's going to be some flat to some flat VR to VR modes here and there. But I don't think at this extent and this quality. And I can't wait to see what the flat to VR team does with PlayStation VR2. It could be something truly incredible, and I'm going to be here all the way, and I will be helping you guys out along the way as well. And then we'll be jumping back and forth. Like, I'm not, I'm like I said, my focus on the channel moving forward is covering the best stuff that or just what I'm interested in, really. I mean, I don't care if whatever's considered the best or not. This is what I care about right here, and this is super important to me. This is why I loved, the reason I loved PSVR to begin with is now being extended to PC in a way that's way beyond what we could have ever imagined. So pretty amazing stuff here, man. And yes, I am playing as Sackboy with an Astrobot skin. But amazing stuff, you guys. Amazing stuff. And I look forward to kind of sharing more. Like I said, this adapter, I'm like foaming at the mouth for this adapter. I keep bugging Wes and I keep running in circles because, quite frankly, this is the PSVR 2 is going to be the very first. The PSVR 2 is going to be my very first cable, like actual PC VR headset. My experience with that, my only experience is using the cable with the Quest. The Quest is not designed for a cable. It sucks with a cable really hard. But other PC VR headsets like the G2 or Reverb G2, things like that, they're different. They don't use a USB port. They use a display port. So I don't, like, again, whatever I need to use moving forward, like to get this stuff to work, that's where I'm going to be going. But right now we've got a ton of PSVR 2 stuff to look forward to. We've got this adapter to look forward to. I cannot wait. I cannot stress the importance of the potential of these adapters. Here's another game in UEVR, guys. Pacific Drive. And this isn't even with motion controls. This is actually just with a DualSense. And I'm getting haptics and adaptive triggers. And I got to check out Pacific Drive. And it works great. And it's actually a pretty cool game so far. It's kind of like a narrative-driven sci-fi adventure crafting game. But pretty cool stuff, man. Pretty cool stuff. Also dirt cheap right now. But again, if it's your first foray into PC VR, I do not recommend going right into UEVR. I would highly recommend you start with some native stuff first, get your bearings in. But guys, I cannot wait for this adapter. If I haven't made that clear enough, I am super, super excited for not only the adapter coming and PSVR 2 expanding into a PC headset, but also, getting all these games working and stuff and helping you guys along the way for getting them working. And yeah, I just, I can't, like, these mods and stuff that do this stuff are doing God's work out there. This is amazing stuff. And to me, this is where the most imminent future is heading right now, besides, some of the big releases coming out, like your Zombie Armies, your Behemoths, your Aces of Thunders, your Wanderers, your Arcanages. There's still a lot coming to normal VR too, but but yeah, man, really cool stuff. Now we finally made it through the game loop. Once again, Final Fantasy VII, super cool stuff. But guys, that is it for now. Thank you so much for spending your 4th of July with me. It's time to get hyped once again. This is the most exciting I've been about gaming since the last time I can remember. This is probably the most excited I've been since I've discovered emulators for the first time. I don't know. This is basically, like I said, I don't like UEVR is not, it is a mod, but it is not your typical mod. To me, I consider it more like an emulator that you use to force your games into VR, and then you just kind of maybe tweak them here and there a little bit. Most of the time people have profiles you can import, make it super easy. But there is more conversation to be had on this, but that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Happy 4th of July. Smells like freedom out there. Fireworks are starting to get going too. So guys, have fun, be safe. Hope you get some good food with your families. Thank you to these lovely people who support me on patreon.com/PSVR Underground. Thank you to all you lovely people here who come here today and just hang out, and hopefully you learned something new. You witnessed a little bit of the future that's ahead of us and how exciting it is. And thank you for those donations as well. It really helps. I appreciate you guys. Your love and support right back at you. Keeping that tip train going as always. And yeah, man, you guys have a wonderful rest of the night. I will see you again very, very soon. And yeah, man, exciting times ahead. Cannot wait. That PC adapter cannot get here soon enough. Especially since there's no VR devs releasing any games right now in the summertime because it's so damn hot. We need something to play, y'all. Like, I get it. It's hot. But somebody release something. You could definitely capitalize. Some of us have AC. All right. Anyways, y'all have a wonderful